What's up, guys? Haas is back. I'm in the house. The world's smartest geologist is in attendance. And today, I am bringing you guys a very heated debate about something that's been debated for years and years and years. So what I'm going to try to do with this video, it's nice and long, so I have plenty of time to talk. I'm going to try to dispel some of these myths that people are involving themselves in. And I'm also going to try to, I guess, tell you guys how me being a full-fledged scientist and a full-fledged believer in the faith of Christianity, that I keep them separate, or I bring them together when I need to, or I use one to help explain the other when I need to. And I guess let me kind of start things off by saying religion is always a faith-based operation. Okay, that's the fundamental point of religion, is that it's faith. We will never know for sure if our religion is right, if religion in general is right, if what we believe is correct. We won't know until we die. And by that point, then, well, who really knows anything? And that's the stance that a lot of people take, is that because it is only faith-based and there is no, quote, evidence for it, then it must be wrong in some way. It has to be incorrect in some way. And that's not necessarily the case. But let me go ahead and talk about science. Science now is what we see as the observable, reproducible, test-based, premise of how to go about looking at things in the earth. And now, these two things are pretty contrasting right off the bat. And you might say, well, how can these two ever interact? Or how can these two ever be a part of each other or be discussed together in the same sentence? And I'm going to try to do this by giving you guys a scientist who is also a Christian's point of view on the creation versus the evolution debate. And this is just to kind of start things off, get you guys' brains thinking a little bit about what all is going on with this big debate that I don't even think we will ever have a true answer to. So now, creation is the notion that a supreme being, a God of some sort, in Christianity it is the one true God, created the heavens and the earth, created all life, created everything in the universe. Now, to a lot of people, that might sound pretty radical, especially knowing what we do of the universe. However, if we go based on evolution alone, what is to say that evolution isn't completely ridiculous? Because if you think about it, how do we know that something living, quote unquote, came from just regular inorganic compounds? How do we know that that is truly what happened? We don't. We've got things that may support that. We've got bacteria. Through the age of fossils and through the lifespan of fossils that we've got a record of things going from simple to more complex. That is the entire notion of evolution, is that things started simply, and from there genetic mutations cause them to grow, to develop differently, to adapt to their surroundings. Evolution is that fundamental notion. And that is where creationism and evolution differ slightly. However, it does depend on your interpretation of creation. How do we know that creation in that sense was not driven by a higher power? And you can believe the higher power is God, you can believe the higher power is just strictly the universe itself, you can believe higher power as whatever you want to believe it as for this certain scenario. This is not cherry picking, this is not dispelling any myths about any religion here or there. This is not saying that my religion is correct, yours is incorrect, religion itself is correct, and your lack of is incorrect. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying let's look at these things that are so hotly debated, and let's take a step back and see if there are any similarities between these two, because me being a geoscientist especially has brought me to think that maybe there's a little bit more to this whole creation and evolution being essentially one and the same. And let me go ahead and try to explain this a little bit further, because very, very recently, there's been a development in physics, and it's called string theory. And essentially, the core notion of string theory is that there is some bigger notion involved in the creation of the universe. Now, this is very general, correct me if I'm wrong, you people that know more about this than I do, but what I took from it is that physicists now believe that there is another order, be that another dimension, be that another place in space and time, be that something completely different than space and time in general. There is some higher order of the universe that we do not know about. And that could mean that our universe is one of many. That could mean that our universe is singular. That could mean that our universe is a fluke of nature and that it shouldn't have happened to begin with. We don't know. Physicists do not know. All they do know is that the evidence they have points to something bigger than our observable universe and what we know about that stuff that we see. So, from this, how do we know that creation and evolution are completely separate entities? What if, and I'm just saying this, what if some higher power along the way somewhere made the heavens and the earth? Some force, not necessarily a god, not necessarily some omniscient being, but let's just pretend for a second, okay? Bear with me here. Let's go out and let's try to view this scientific hypothesis, and let's think about this. What if this whole evolution thing was started by creation from some force that we have no direct experience with? And then from there, what if that force drove the evolution of these creatures, of these things in nature that we see? How do we know? How do we know that that's not true? How do we know that it is true? And for me, that seems a heck of a lot more logical than it does to say creationism and evolution are two completely distinct things, because our Earth was created, our universe was created. Now, the only debate left in that is what created it. And that's where your faith comes in, or that's where your scientific understanding comes in. But what created those elementary particles that started the entire Big Bang process? What created our omniscient being that started that entire creation process? I don't think we'll know. And for some people, that's where their faith kicks in the most, right there. When people challenge that, their very core fundamental value, that is where faith comes in, and some people get really ridiculous with it. And that is not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to tell you how, as a scientist and as a believer, I reconcile these two things, because in my opinion, it makes a lot more sense to have something that started from a creator, a power, a being of some sort, and then that was left to evolve on its own, than it does to have one evolution that started from one elementary particle that just existed because it existed, even though we don't know why. And hold on, wait a second. Doesn't that sound a lot like faith too? Doesn't this notion of one elementary particle starting everything sound a lot like one true God starting everything for a religion too? Oh wait, it really does. It really, really does sound like that same thing. So I guess what I'm trying to get across here, the main point that I'm trying to say is that you cannot bash religion strictly because it does not fit your own beliefs. Just as if you are a person of the faith watching this video, you cannot completely knock any science because it does not fit your notion of your religion. Because the fact of the matter is, there is so much in our universe and in our world that we live in right now that we don't know about, and that we probably never will know about, that we just have to trust what we know at the time. And if that changes and something does come to light that either proves or disproves or shows something is true over the other, we have to accept that. It's our responsibility as humans of educated backgrounds and of people that really rely on true information to take that and to accept that, whatever that outcome may be. So guys, I'm gonna leave you with that. Let me know if you have any changes to this. Let me know if I misspoke about any of these things. I mean, again, my science on physics is pretty limited. A nice long gameplay to put this over. Comment, rate, subscribe if you like what you see. If you want me to do more of these videos, I sure can, because I have a lot of information on this topic. Guys, keep it sedimentary, keep it metamorphic, and of course, keep